everyone, welcome to episode 5 of Canine Wizard TV, presented by Olive Branch Canine. In this episode, we're going to be covering crate training using a clicker. So 2 common uses for crate training, or reasons for crate training. One is to facilitate potty training, and 2, to mitigate any issues with destructive behaviors in the house when you're gone. So let's face it, we all live in these conditions where, double parents, we gotta work, single parents, living in apartments. There are circumstances where you have to crate your dog because 1, you don't want them tearing up your house, 2, you don't have a big enough yard. So there is a need to crate train your dog. But I want all of us to focus on one specific reason or one specific tool and overview of what really we need to focus on when we're crate training. And that is a safe area and that creates no conflict for your canine. So what I typically use, going back to our episode 1, 2, and 3, Mitch presented some great stuff for negative markers and then loading the marker and then what we can use. On this episode, we're gonna use 3 distinct different, I wouldn't say distinct, but 3 different tools we can use to getting our dog into the crate. One of them is free shaping, one of them is luring, and one of them is leash pressure. We can use a combination of all 3 of these to get our dog into the crate. So what I'm going to do with Suki is I'm going to pull her out of the crate. We're going to go over a quick little demonstration and some little problem solving on how to get your dog to go in, when to mark, when not to mark, when to delay with the marker, how to feed, how to distribute the food, and how to praise their dog once they go into there and to get in the right position. So I'm going to use, for the first repetition, I'm going to use Raider Canine's 10-foot line for this exercise. I'm just going to drape it over me because we're first going to start with free shaping. So free shaping is we just move our body positioning around to get the dog or encourage them to go into a specific area or go to a specific target. Then we mark and then we pay. So again, I'm using my World War II cricket clicker. I've got my distribution bag right here with my treats that we know is going to work for our dog. And so right now we're just going to go ahead and pull her out. So again, free shaping is just getting the dog to go where we want him to go without using any commands, any pressure. We're just going to kind of maneuver ourselves around to get the dog where we want it to go. And then we're going to mark and then we're going to pay. So I'm just going to move around. I'm standing right here. As soon as she enters the threshold, I'm going to pay. As soon as she breaks that threshold, for the first repetition, that's what's important. As soon as she breaks that threshold into the crate is when we mark and then we pay. So right now she's trying to have fun on the chair, but I'm going to maneuver around. I'm going to have to shift my body because she's anticipating the reward. I click, I go into my treat bag, and I pay. So right now, all we're doing is getting her used to going in. She breaks the threshold. As soon as she steps her front paws in there, we mark and then we pay. So I can move myself around. She loves to get on top of things, which is fine. I maneuver myself around. I don't give her any feedback. I click, and then I pay. So that is basically the concept of free shaping. Initially for the crate. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do luring. So for luring, I'm going to provide my target hand, which remember in episode 1, we used our target hand to shape the behavior or to get the dog to focus on our hand. So for luring, I'm going to entice, I'm going to cast my hand in, she breaks in, and I bring out. Again, we're going to present our hand in that right way. We can put it in our hand like this if we're having problems. We can do multiple treats at one time. She's already offering behavior, but that's okay because I'm going to move my body positioning to reset her. I'm going to come in, lure her in with a treat, and then she comes back out. So that is luring. Now, mechanical with luring or a combination of the 2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my leash, and all I'm going to do either on a flat collar or whatever is most appropriate for your dog. You guys know what the tolerance is or your dog's threshold is. What I'm going to do is, so once you use luring, and luring in combination of mechanical pressure on a leash, you got to remember, you got a lot of things going on. You got a clicker in one hand, you got a leash in one hand. You don't want to have a discharge on your clicker without paying. And then you got to be able to get into your treat bag. So you got to take these into consideration. That is why the most appealing approach is initially using free shaping. One, because it creates enthusiasm for the dog to execute the command or the desired behavior and build a chain of events to get to the final solution of the dog actually going in and laying down and facing out. If you can get to there with the dog doing that with free shaping, you're way ahead of it because the dog will do it with enthusiasm. But it doesn't mean nobody's perfect. I understand. I lose patience. A lot of people out there lose patience. Patience is kind of hard, especially when you're dealing with a challenging dog. So you may have to use a combination of all three of these methods. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You're not doing anything wrong. So with mechanical leash pressure, all you're going to do is you're going to kind of just apply a little bit of mechanical pressure on the collar to get them to go in. Click. Okay. Again, a little bit of pressure, not a lot, just a little bit of pressure. You're going to change your body position. Click. Okay. All you're doing right now is paying for breaking the threshold. And sometimes the dog won't do that. Sometimes it even is just a dog looking at it. But you see how I'm using my body mechanics to get the dog and encouraging him and using just a little bit, only the pressure necessary to get the dog to go in. Click. Okay. So, eventually, what I want the dog to do is to go in, turn around, and lay down. That is the end state. So we're chaining events, we're chaining behaviors together, but we're marking each micro step of the behaviors with the clicker and then paying. So the dog gets in their sight picture, they have a high frequency of reward for just that specific sight picture of what happened and what they were rewarded for. So at the end of the day, what we really want the dog to do is to say, how do I get this monkey to give me food? That's the way we like to think of it, is I'm going to go in and do these things, but it's really, all you're doing is a treat disperser. You're going to pay, and so you want the dog to think that it's their idea, that they do it with enthusiasm. At the end of the day, that's how we use the marker to get them in there. So we want it to be a confident situation where the dog goes in and turns around and lays down. So eventually, what you start doing is pairing it with a command. So as I get the dog to go in, I have a high frequency of repetitions. The dog goes in, but it goes into that area that we want him to go into. I'm saying kennel, I'm clicking, and I'm paying. So that the dog learns to eventually pair the command with the direction. And we can eventually get into doing a hand command and all that. But these are some basic components of beginning your process with clicker training and using your clicker to get your dog to go in. So, what I would like to emphasize is, once the dog goes in, not on top, it goes in, we wait, we delay the click, we wait, we pause, we delay the mark, she goes into a down, and we click, and what we can do is what I call power pay. So all we're doing is clicking for place. So she's in there, she's in the right place, I'm clicking, and I'm letting her get kibble out of my hand. So that's how you build your delay with your dog actually staying in there. What we really want to do at the end of the day is create an environment to where the door is open and your dog is able to go in there and relax and lay down without closing the door. So the dog finds that place as a, what we would, for lack of a better term, and I know it's kind of a scientific term, this has been researched, a denning instinct. So they consider that their den. They find comfort in it, and they are happy in that place. It creates very little conflict. So again, thanks for joining us for Canine Wizard TV. Michelle and I and Suki appreciate your time, and we hope this video was helpful. Again, Canine Wizard TV is presented by Olive Branch Canine, and it's for free for the next 30 days. God bless, and we look forward to seeing you again in our future episodes series. And look for in the next 30 days or next 30 days to next 60 days for us to roll out our subscription process. Have a great day and God bless.